Hello, everybody out there. This is the Destiny Council with Will Klein, Brian Lindberg, Jonathan Magnuson, and Andrew Rothermel.
It's ready to go. And this is our first podcast. In case you can't tell. Okay. Why don't you introduce yourself, Will?
I'm Will Klein. I used to play a lot of Magic and then got into Destiny right when the game started. I wasn't even going to play Destiny at first, but my friends convinced me to go down to the pre-release. And, I love the game and love the depth of it, and we've been playing ever since.
Yeah, I'm Brian Lindberg here, former World of Warcraft trading card game player for about 7 years. When that finally changed into Hearthstone, I was looking for another game more competitive and really was intrigued by the dice and card game aspect of Destiny. I've been playing since December.
I'm John, and I was never really a former TCG player, but I have always been a board game player since a young age. And I got into Destiny because Andrew convinced me to come out to the pre-release, and it was a lot of fun. And ever since then, it's just been only Destiny. I haven't played board games at all since Destiny came out.
So I think what we want this podcast to be is a look at the competitive metagame and decks that we're playing, and as the months go by, we'll look at how the metagame shapes and what cards we think are dominating or what character lists are dominating. But first we want to talk about our Worlds recap. Andrew, Jonathan, myself, and Brian tested for Worlds for about a month beforehand, played about, I would say, almost 3 times a week. So we did a lot of testing for it, and we all ended up doing really well. We all made the top 16. So first we'll talk about day 1A. Jonathan, myself, and Andrew played that day. Andrew and Jonathan went 6-0. I went 5-1, only losing to Andrew, actually, in round 4. Day 1 for me was fairly smooth, except for there was 3 games in a row where I played Jabaduku, and then I played Andrew with Han Ray, and then I played another Jabaduku. And I was playing the Bala Night Sister Trooper deck, which I kind of audibled into about 2 weeks before World started. It ended up, I think I saw it on Honestly Sarcastic was the name of the person who posted online. And we tested it, tried to tweak it, but it ended up being really solid as is, so I played the exact list. Yeah, my Jabaduku matches were a little bit tough. That's a rough matchup for me, but everything else went smoothly. I went 5-1.
Yeah. I played Poe Ray, which I've been playing since January, trying to hype the deck up. I had a lot of fun. I didn't have too many issues with the deck throughout the day, although there were a couple strange games. I had 2 games where I milled my opponent. Because basically, it was just weird games. I don't know how else to describe it, but neither player was dealing enough damage, and I ended up with just milling them with Ray. Other than that, most of it went smooth. I know that in my 5th round was my craziest game, because that round was a turn 2 kill on 2 characters with an all-in, and so that felt good.
Nice.
But other than that, it was pretty smooth, so 6-0 felt really good. It felt really nice to miss Andrew. And Andrew's not here, but his day 1 went well for him. He was playing Han Ray. He went 6-0.
With an interesting list.
Yeah, his Han Ray is a lot different. So he did something smart, which I think other Han Rays should do, which is you take out the Awakening's jetpack, and you just put in Ray Staff Sabers. Sabers and Ray Staff are just so much better than a jetpack.
They're so much more consistent.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't like the idea, think, well, what use are Sabers if Ray dies? Or what use is Ray Staff? But they're actually really good on Han. Sabers have 3 damage sides. Ray Staff has 3 damage sides. And it also allows you to not get blown out by removal as much. If you're rolling out 5 range dice and you hit the insane roll of 12 damage or something, they can just dodge. When you're rolling out a Han with Ray Staff and 2 Sabers, it's like you roll your insane rolls and they can't do anything about it.
And it also gives you the fallback of if Han does die early, then you've got a Ray with maybe a Saber and a Ray Staff, which is a lot scarier than a Ray with a jetpack or something.
Yeah. Definitely.
So then Brian played on day 1B.
Yeah, as the lone 1B player in the group, it felt good in the sense that I didn't have to play any of my playtest group, but it also felt like the pressure was on after such a really good start from the rest of a group.
So you were originally going to play Bala Night Sister Trooper, and then you switched to Poe Ray.
Yeah, I was in this interesting position where I had played Poe Ray for probably 2 months straight, had really good success. And then same thing with Will. I saw this deck with the 4 character list, and I played against Will a bunch and was like, man, this deck is legit. It's good. I went into the tournament with both lists ready to go and just ended up basically flipping a coin to see what I'd play. I ended up playing Poe Ray mostly because I thought it'd be more fun. It's a little bit more bursty, more, damage in your face, fun deck. The 4 characters a bit more control-y, just, roll out one a character at a time, control their dice, deal damage slowly.
So then on day 2, we all made day 2. On day 2 for me, it ended up being a lot easier on day 2. I think I got lucky in my 3 matches. I ended up playing against 2 Poe Rays and a Vader Raider, which I went 3-0 on day 2, so I ended 8-1. Felt really good going into the top 16.
I too won day 2, so I ended 8-1 as well. I lost my first match to the Vader Raider, who later went on to win the tournament. But that was a match where I think it was very winnable for me. It wasn't like a blowout game, but I never drew my defensive positions, so there was nothing I could do in the mid-game turns where he's just re-rolling into 12. So I drew all my range removal, none of my melee removal, and it was unfortunate. Other than that, though, my next 2 games went well, and I finished ranked 3rd.
Yeah, I think we finished. Andrew was 1st, you were 3rd, I was 4th, and Brian was 15th.
15th. I had actually the hardest time.
Yeah, well, you had gone in 5-2, or I mean 4-2.
Yeah,
day 2.
I had to go 3-0 on day 2. It wasn't easy. I had to play a friend, and but my matches were Django Bala Trooper, Phasma Bala Trooper, and Jabba Dooku. The Jabba Dooku game came down to literally no cards in hand, no cards in deck, and just killing them in the last action. So really close games, but I was glad I could 3-0 and make it with the team.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, that felt really good. We were all pumped when you made it.
Yeah.
So then the top 16, so there was basically an interview session we had where they interviewed all of the top 16 players, and then we were told we were going to be able to get food, and then we immediately had to play, so that was a little bit tough for me because I was, I think, the last or second to last interview and had to immediately go over and sit down after not eating all day.
Yeah, it was very strange considering the previous days they gave us an hour break between rounds 4 and then 5 and 6 to go eat. And then they told us basically we'd have a lunch break here too. However, it was like a 15-minute lunch break where you had to order food, which took 10 minutes to get. So really, you didn't have a chance to get anything to eat.
So anyway, into the top 16, I felt great because the metagame was, I don't have the exact list of the top 16, but I think there was about 4 Poe Rays, 2 Vader Raiders, 2 Han Rays, 1 Bala Night Sister Trooper, which was me, 3 Phasma Bala Troopers, 2 Jabba Dookus, 1 Leia Akbar, and I think there was 1 Django Bala Trooper, but I'm not sure. So I felt good because during testing, the Bala Night Sister Trooper deck tended to have a good matchup against almost all of those except for Jabba Dooku, and especially against Phasma Bala Trooper. So I get paired against a Phasma Bala Trooper first round, and I ended up just game 1. I think first turn logistics into 2 or 3 upgrades on Phasma, which always feels bad when you don't have deflect or basically your own logistics to ramp up as fast as them. And then game 2, I think it was the same thing. It was something close to that with 2 or 3 upgrades on Phasma, but I ended up killing Phasma fairly quickly. And once Phasma was dead, the game is basically over. And then third game, he ended up doing the same thing. Lots of upgrades on Phasma and rolled really well and couldn't really get damage. And so that was the end of my day.
Yeah, similar to Will, I felt pretty good going into my top 16 matchup against a Vader Raider. I play tested Poe Ray versus Vader Raider quite extensively, and our latest iteration of the deck had basically like an undefeated record against it. So when I went into the matchup, I felt really good. However, it seemed my opponent, Dan Weiser, who ended up winning it all, he just seemed to have everything he needed, and the dice were in his favor, I guess, that game.
Did he have a first turn holocron into Mind Probe?
He had 2 holocrons and Mind Probe, both
That's
games, and got the special off both games, turn 1. So it was the awkward situation where you're staring down a Tusken Raider with Mind Probe, turn 1, both games. You have to kill the Tusken. Then Vader ends up with, 2 upgrades and kills you off.
Yep, that's how you want to
Yeah.
start with Vader Raider.
Yeah, I got kind of stomped by that. Went down 0-2, and that kind of ended my day. But at least he ended up winning it all, so I didn't feel as bad.
Yeah, I played another Poe Ray player, which is an awkward matchup. I typically feel good about it, but at the same time, it's extremely volatile because neither of you has anything that can remove specials, and you're guaranteed to have Emperor's Throne Room. So the games are over. Like, we played 3 games in 40 minutes, basically. The second game was like 8 minutes.
Jeez.
And it's just... It's so volatile, where if we'd rolled evenly, I felt pretty good about it. And, I mean, he was playing well. He did a good job of making sure that... I went for Ray first to try to get rid of resources, and he always managed to keep Ray alive. That one extra turn, so at the start of the next turn, he could play that Saber. And I felt so bad where it's like, oh, I'm going to kill the Ray, and then he'd field medic. I wouldn't kill the Ray, and the next turn he'd overwrite with a Saber, and it's like, no, my strategy's gone. But in any case, he was able to roll a lot of flat specials, which, as I said, like, Poe Ray can't remove specials. And then when you can roll one natural special on Poe, you're able to claim for the other special. So getting Poe special twice every turn hurts.
So you basically only have defensive position and then comm link, which neither takes away the special.
You have deflects.
Deflects are really good.
Deflects are really good, but if they roll specials, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. And then they can just claim for the special as well with the battlefield. So
Right, so the best roll in that matchup is like special disrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And you just special them, and then you claim for the other special. So it's like a weird, like, I would not, if I had to pick a matchup, I don't think I would have picked the mirror matchup because of how volatile it is with that battlefield. It's just, I mean, as I said, 3 games in 40 minutes. It's like, it's so fast, anything can happen.
Similar to the Vader Raider matchup, where it tends to be like who can find their holocron mind probe. In that matchup, it's who can hit their mind probe specials or force throw specials and deflects.
Yeah.
And then Andrew, he went 3-0 as well on day 2. I'm not sure what he played, but
Well, he definitely
Played against Poe Ray.
he played a Vader Raider as well. That's right. In the last match
Yep.
against Dylan, who also is from Minneapolis and made the top 8, top 4? I'm not sure. But then Andrew went on to win his top 16 matchup. Did you guys see that?
It was Poe Ray.
Yeah, he 2-0'd his first round. So at that point, he was 11-0 in the tournament, which is pretty
That is
insane.
amazing.
The rest of us had lost, but he goes on to his next matchup. And as we said, we started that day at like 10. And by now it's like 4-ish. And we hadn't been given a break to eat. And it's even harder for Andrew to find something to eat because he doesn't eat gluten. So if you're trying to find fast food over the break, like, he had no options. So he was exhausted at that point, and goes in and he plays a Phasma Battle Trooper who both games dealt 7 to like 9 damage to his Ray on turn 1. You could tell just looking at him, like, he just looked exhausted.
Yeah.
But I mean, not to take away any credit from his opponent. I mean, his opponent played well. And at this point, once you're in the top 16, you have to realize that the player skills are close enough that variance will affect it. And you also have to realize that, like, players are tired. So
I think that was a lot of what happened. Like, we've heard a lot of complaining online about misplays and things going wrong, but that was a long day, and the matches were long. After playing, I think my top 16 match went to almost time. So that's a long time after 3 rounds and then playing a 90-minute match with no break. It tends to wear on you, especially with people crowded around you and a lot of commotion going on. So, but I think overall we all had a great experience at Worlds. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a few changes they could make for next year. I would really like if they would rope off the top 16 area maybe when we were playing, because there was a lot of people right over everybody's shoulder, and that tended to be a little bit frustrating. I wouldn't mind if they were a few feet back when we were playing. And maybe next year we can get a larger player space and get more players, because 200 is not it is the biggest Destiny tournament that's happened so far, but compared to other TCG big tournaments.
The demand was certainly there.
Oh, yeah. I think they could have easily gotten 400 to 500 people.
Yeah, it's also unfortunate that I think 20 people or 20-something plus people couldn't make it to the tournament, so they had 200 people signed up, but about 26 didn't show up, so there was like 94 day 1 and 80 something day 2.
Yeah.
So very unfortunate that the people who wanted to be there couldn't be there, and there were some empty slots.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's everything about Worlds, I think, unless anybody has anything else. So now we want to move on to Spirit of Rebellion and give you our thoughts and maybe some decks we're playing. Do you have anything, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, Spirit of Rebellion is gonna. The thing that excites me most is that for like the next 2 months, decks are not going to be optimized, which means that you can get away with playing weaker decks and doing well, which is fun for me because you can mess around with certain archetypes and see if there's a hidden gem out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there are some things that like certain combinations of characters and cards won't feel as good as they will be until they're optimized. And if you're trying to mess around with new character combinations like 3 months into a meta, they'll get smoked every like your first iteration every single time, and it'll be hard to tell if there's something there because the other decks that are already strong are already optimized. So you just get smoked instantly, and it's like, well, if I changed some cards, would it be good? I don't know. Yeah. So I'm excited to mess around for a while decks are still while other people are messing around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty excited about the possibility of other decks being viable, such as Mill. I think in set 1 we saw a good attempt at Hero Mill, some Jabba Mill, but really it became like a Jabba Dooku that was half Mill, half control, like dealing damage. And I think the really standout thing that I've seen so far is more viable decks with Mill. I've seen a cool Padme list. I've seen a few Unkar lists. Very cool that there's other ways to win besides just dealing damage.
Well, I think what happened at the beginning of Awakenings was that you had some Mill decks come out like a Vader Jabba or a Jabba Dooku that was focused on Mill, and then the damage decks became highly tuned and consistently able to deal way more damage than our first iterations of those decks, which ended up just beating the Mill decks consistently. But now I think we have a lot of cards that came in that will make Mill a lot more consistent, and a lot more control cards like the infamous Imperial Inspection. So we'll see how that pans out. Are there any combinations you're looking at, Jonathan? Character combinations?
I want to have fun with Mono Hero Blue. I don't think it will. I'm not convinced it'll be tier 1 yet, but there's a lot of fun zero cost cards for Hero Blue. You have cards like Synchronicity, Caution, Guard, Destiny, Riposte, Heroism. Like you could, I mean, I have a deck that I want to test around with right now. It's Qui-Gon Ray, and it's like 16 zero cost events if I wanted it. You know, which is kind of fun, you know, and I want to mess around with being able to do things like turn 1 Destiny, Mind for one to someone. I don't know. It just seems there's a lot of fun to be had there. So I want to play it while I'm not going to get crushed every time.
Yeah, I agree. Brian, you were talking about an FN deck you wanted to build?
Yeah, I just really like FN. I haven't really figured out the best combination. At first, I thought, FN plus the new Vader, both at Elite.
Yeah, I like that deck too. That seems like a really strong combination.
The downside to that deck is it's very full aggro, and I think it's kind of like the same aspect of Django Veers in the sense that it's like very glass cannon, deal a bunch of damage, but like have no resources to control your opponent's dice because you're playing upgrades on FN every turn.
Yeah, I guess the trick is you don't get logistics because you would have trouble ever casting it on. Right. Basically, only the FN die has a resource, but 4 dice with strong damage could be good. And FN's ability, I saw it in the tournament last week, and it blew me out with Vibro Knucklers, Vibro Knife, and Riot Baton.
Yeah.
Man, that was rough. Rolling out a 3 and resolving immediately, and then rolling it again. I'm scared of that deck. And then I know Poe Maz is becoming popular as well. I find that deck a little bit fragile because if you take out Poe, the deck has a lot of trouble basically finishing the game with just Maz, and maybe you've got a Millennium Falcon out or a U-Wing. So we'll see how that shapes up in the weeks to come here.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that people are a little bit concerned about Spirit of Rebellion because of some of the action cheats, cards like Imperial Inspection. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun to be had. I think the metagame will balance out. I think that if things are really, truly broken, Fantasy Flight has already shown that they're willing to errata. My personal vote is like, come on, errata Imperial Inspection. But,
I agree.
But
is
like,
it ban it or errata it?
Let's say I bet the community would also love a errata on Ammo Belt. That's what we've been hearing a bunch. I personally haven't seen it to much success, but we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I think if you play the Second Chance Ammo Belt combo, you're setting yourself up for a potential 4 dead cards against an opposing Mill deck, which could make, for a rock, paper, scissors metagame where you've got this hero Mill with, or some deck with Second Chance Ammo Belt that can beat damage decks consistently. But then, I mean, those 4 cards dead against a mill deck are going to be a rough thing to overcome. I don't know. We'll see. All right. I think that's everything we wanted to cover today.
Yeah, we're hoping to just give some good competitive analysis of what's going on in Minnesota. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you have any feedback, as I said, tell us about it. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening to the Destiny Council. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions you'd like us to address in future episodes, you can email us at destinyjedicouncil@gmail.com. And we will see you next time.